Did you know you had a talent for business also? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, because when I was 13, my dad and I started a power washing business. So for about 10 years of my life, I did power washing. I had the best summers, bro.
At just 13, he took his first steps into the cannabis world, got caught up with the law, and was kicked out of college for marijuana-related activities. Yet, through sheer tenacity and operational know-how, Ulysses Youngblood transformed those early setbacks into entrepreneurial success. Now, as he sketches out plans for his second retail location, he's proving that building a thriving cannabis business is possible, even in the face of tough neighborhoods, high taxes, and relentless regulations. I've built businesses from scratch, navigated some serious choppy regulatory waves, and pulled off 2 successful exits worth millions of dollars, turning wild ideas into rock-solid wins. If you're ready to crush it in this industry, you're right where you need to be. Today, I'm joined by Ulysses, a cannabis entrepreneur with one of the most inspiring and hard-hitting stories out there.
So now we're talking about expanding,
Right.
right? So would it go towards the operation? And it would go towards how we can build a bigger brand, talk about another location,
Well, the manufacturing is also in that same building.
It is, yeah.
So then you could potentially blow up that whole bottom.
Exactly. That's the plan, especially with the research too, is to get the basement built out.
From power washing buildings with his dad to becoming a respected presence in Worcester's cannabis scene, he's lived every side of this industry. Join us as we explore how to grow a cannabis brand that marries culture and authenticity with real impact. Let's dive in.
Who am I, dude? I'm son of Leslie and Ulysses Youngblood, man. But yeah, I'm also a junior, so my name's Ulysses Youngblood. I hail from Bridgeport, Connecticut. I moved to Worcester back in 2006 to play football.
For who?
Assumption College.
Assumption,
Notice
all right.
I put football before college, right? That's the only reason I got into college, honestly. But during my brief stint there, I was expelled for marijuana-related activities. Yeah, and that was in 2007, and then you know what happened in 2008, right?
No.
We decriminalized.
Oh, in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Well, I was in New York City at the time.
Yeah.
I actually only came back to Massachusetts in 2017.
Yo, that's wild. But actually, I think I knew that.
Yeah. So
Wait,
I
you're
was-
not from New York, though, are you?
No, I'm from Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
I moved down there, and then I spent a budget to do like 13 years there. Had a family,
Yeah,
3
yeah.
kids and everything.
Yeah,
right?
that's wild.
Born in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's
And
wild.
then we moved back in 2017.
Oh, no doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt. Yeah, man. So, yeah, I mean, probably for weed stuff, right? Yeah?
No,
No?
it was because we were sick of, we had no family around.
Yeah.
So we were like fighting the city all day,
Yeah,
pushing strollers through like a foot of snow and stuff
Yeah,
to
it's-
get to school every morning.
Yeah,
We were like, what are we fighting the city for? Let's just move. You know what I
Where's your
mean? Like,
wife from?
same hometown as me, in
Oh.
Massachusetts.
Oh, my goodness.
We're both from Tewksbury, Massachusetts. I know it's a small world.
Yo, that is crazy, bro. Yeah, but I mean,
The whole backstory of that I won't get into.
No, I got you, bro. Well, a lot of people are moving out of New York, especially because of COVID. But like nowadays, like, you know what I mean?
Well, we were fully remote.
Oh,
So we were back in before COVID.
Right,
We actually had a fully remote company.
oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I declared that when I was the CEO of the last company, I declared that like January 2017.
Yo, that's sick, dude.
Well, because we were tech. So tech, I was like, I'm not paying. It was like $12,000 a month
Crazy.
for the space.
Yeah.
3,000 square feet in Dumbo, which is prime real estate now.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was in the big, when we were coming up as Digital Dumbo, it was called.
Right.
And then it was a big push to like move a bunch of tech companies in there. And so we got crazy rates. I think Brooklyn Dumbo prices, I think we were paying like in the beginning, like $18 a square foot or something crazy.
Oh, that's low,
Right.
bro.
And then now I can't imagine
Yeah.
what it costs now.
Yeah.
But, and we had that as a home for many, many years. And yeah, Dumbo is like a phenomenal tech hub.
Oh,
But
for sure.
eventually I was like, we don't need to be spending $20,000 a month or whatever we're spending on rent.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? And so we decided to go fully remote. Yeah, all the way back in 2017.
Dude, that's dope. So you were pre-COVID.
Yeah,
bro.
pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So we were remote. We were always, on calls and stuff like that. We're good at working across different time zones even because we had somebody in Vegas, for instance, and all this other stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
No, that's cool, bro.
yeah. But yeah, then after coming back, I was fully remote, sold my company,
Yeah.
then got into cannabis.
Oh, no doubt.
So my story is a little bit
Yeah.
zag.
Yeah, no, I got you. Well, you rode through Bridgeport, bro, because Brooklyn.
100%.
Yeah, bro. So, yeah, man.
So that's cool. So like, what is going on? You've been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah.
Right. as far as the licensed dispensary side goes, right? So when did you get the licensed dispensary launched?
Launched. So
21?
August 2021. Yeah, we acquired the provisional in 2020, I think. Was it 2020? Yeah, it was definitely COVID, bro. Yeah, it was definitely COVID. So yeah, let's just say like probably like a year or some change later.
So fast forward 4+ years now, almost 5 years in. This raises so many questions from where you started to where you are today. Like, you know, how, like, would you do it again even?
I guess I'm pursuing another license right now.
But I mean,
so I guess yes.
Yeah, you just gotta throw yourself back into it, right? It's not,
I mean, to be honest, this is the second retail we had. So the first one was a loss. I mean, it's literally a loss. I mean, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
With the potential of selling that asset, but like, I guess from a accounting and a bookkeeping standpoint, like, it is literally considered a loss. Like, we invested money in it, we didn't sell it as an asset, and we didn't operate it. So now, you know, it was a learning experience, I should say. To be honest with you, like, yeah, as an accounting perspective, it's a loss, but like, you learn so much from that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that really led us to get the license in Worcester, which is the one that we invested in, and now we operate to this day. And then, you know, along with that comes our manufacturing license, our
delivery too, right?
Yep, delivery courier license, and then we have a research host agreement. So
Research host agreement.
yeah, it is
in the same space.
In the same space.
Wow.
It is my duty to figure out how we can get that active.
That's so interesting. So I mean, that's I would consider prolific. That's like all different types of areas.
Yeah,
you're not doing cultivation, but other than that, you're doing basically everything.
Yeah.
And so, all right, stepping back a little bit. So you get into it 2021.
Yep.
You launched in 2021. You're obviously thinking about it, planning it through COVID, and you went through a loss, and now, you know, turn it into a store.
Went through learning.
Yeah, I mean, every, you know, failures,
bro.
Yeah, 100%. That's how you learn. If you learn something from it, many people fail and don't learn anything from it, and they don't go further, right?
Yeah.
But your next, and this is what I tell my kids all the time, it's like, your first business is a throwaway business. It's not like you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things that you know for a fact is going to be in part of your life, and all the learnings that come with it will happen during that time. And then you'll be like, I'm bored of this, or because you weren't passionate about it, you will sell like some money. And you're like, I'm going to go after that one. But at the end of the day, like, throw that one away, your second business, your third business, your fourth business, those, you just get better and better every time, as long as you're learning along the way.
Yeah.
So you took off from, you got that learning done, you launched your dispensary. Why Worcester? You were living there? Like,
yeah. So going back to the story about Assumption College, man, like that's where I moved from Bridgeport to Worcester. And when I got kicked out of Assumption College, I did a year at Quinsigamond Community College, which is in Worcester. And then my mom was like, listen, you gotta, well, really what it was for my mom is like, I got my ass beat by the Worcester police on my 19th birthday, I think it was. Wow. Yeah, because I had an off-campus apartment. And, you know, basically once that happened, plus my marijuana, like, offense from the school, sorry about this, from the school, I basically had, that was like a last strike. So they kicked me out after I got arrested. And my mom, she was concerned. She was like, listen, you got to get out of Worcester. So I moved back home. I stayed in school. I ended up graduating from Sacred Heart University, where I studied business. And once I finished there, or actually during there, I was like, man, like, I really enjoyed the study of business. So I knew I wanted to go to graduate school. So I moved back to Massachusetts. I lived in Natick and commuted to Boston for school. I had a part-time job in Boston. Then I had a full-time job in Sutton. No, not Sutton. What was it? Stoughton. So once I finished graduate school, I kind of knew that I was going to open a business in cannabis. And that was 2016.
Oh, you already knew it was going to be cannabis.
Yeah.
Was it 2016 the question too?
Yeah, well, it was prior to that, because in 2012 when I finished graduate school, when I finished undergraduate, Massachusetts, 'cause I wasn't living in Massachusetts at the time, had voted on medical.
Medical happened, right?
And I was basically, I got my medical license, like a patient card. And yeah, man, I mean, I it's kind of weird how things work out. Like, I believe in synchronicity. So I took a pharmacy tech class, because I'm like, all right, if it's going to be medical, like, I can learn more about like, know,
So you were like
regulatory.
ready to go in and be like, I'm going to go to pharmacy because that's the medical-ish.
Right. And actually, the first graduate program that I got into was a regulatory program at Northeastern, and then I switched to business from there. So having studied business in undergraduate school, I wasn't too confident that I would get into their MBA program. So I was like, all right, let me get into a program, and then see if I want to transfer back to business. And that's exactly what happened. But the idea with studying regulatory affairs and then having taken that farm tech class was that, like, all right, medical cannabis is around, so let me see what's up. Let me gain some more experience in healthcare. I actually worked for a compound pharmacy. I was mixing drugs for like a year and a half. Really good experience, man. But it was all dating back. You know, you ask about the industry. This, to me, started, you know, when my siblings, I had 3 older sisters, they all smoke weed. You know what I mean? Parents finding weed in the house. You know what I mean? Like those type of stories.
Teenage years.
Right. It make it super authentic. But I think, like, our generation, we have a very unique time because I've never given up that. You know what I mean? Like, my friends and family look at me from a 15, 16-year-old kid who was, you know what I mean? And they're like, yo, you're obsessed,
doing
bro.
this. You're doing this.
Like, you're crazy. Yeah, I'm 30, about to be 37, bro.
Oh my God.
I mean,
That's 20 years.
Exactly, bro. You know what I mean? So
experience built up especially education and just getting
for sure.
and all the time.
Yeah,
and of course, when you're a teenager, you're always getting smarter, but you're always trying to make progress.
For sure, bro.
So did you know you had a talent for business also? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, because when I was 13, my dad and I started a power washing business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. So for about 10 years of my life, I did power washing. I had the best summers, bro, because a lot of my friends, you know, are doing landscaping out in the heat.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm spraying down houses and hood vents with water. You know what I mean?
You're getting sprayed back.
Exactly, bro. Yeah, man. So it was a cool experience, bro. You know, that's really when I got. By the time I started driving, bro, because I was selling weed and working for my family business at the time, so I always had stacks of money, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you were dealing since a teenager.
Yeah, pretty much. And I wouldn't even say like it was enough for me to like
have some for yourself.
Yeah, bro. Like that's really what
have something for myself. Right.
That's really what it was, bro. Like from especially.
I think it's a lot of people though.
Oh,
it's gotta just like there's just small time. It's just like I'm not trying to become kind of kingpin.
Right.
I'm literally just being like, I just need some for myself. I don't want to pay for it.
Yo, basically, and then hook my family and friends up to like I can't tell you how much I've smoked up my sisters, and still to this day bringing home samples for them, and that's what I mean. That like they realize that this goes beyond like an industry because it's something that has been in my family since, you know, as long as I can remember as a teenager. You know what I mean? So, but and that's what I think I like to bring to the industry is like culture and real experience. You know what I mean?
Right. You were doing it.
Yeah, basically, bro. You know, I don't come from, you know, a banker background or, you know, my dad was about to retire from UPS, bro. He was driving truck. His full-time job was driving trucks for 30-something years.
About to retire?
He's about to retire, bro. Yeah, on the summer. It'll be 36 years, bro. 37 years. So that's
UPS.
That UPS.
You don't hear about that anymore. People say 36, 30
yeah,
years.
Bro, it's honorable, especially for our generation. Kids, you know, 35 and less, they stay at jobs for like 2-3 years.
A year.
Yeah.
I remember Brooklyn tech scene. It was a year because in 9 months sometimes you'd be like, you got the credentials.
For sure.
You built this crazy like thing for like some really big client like a Hanes or Nike or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you get picked up by the next agency who pay you like another $20,000 on top of what you're already making.
Oh, for sure.
It was just like bounce all the time to get to that next level, especially in tech.
In
New York City.
Yeah, man. No, it's pretty common, bro. It's pretty common, bro. And I see that now even in the cannabis industry, bro. I can't tell you how many vendors. They're like, bro, you had another company, bro.
Right.
That was to commitment, bro.
There's no such thing anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, to be fair, but to be fair to the employees too, it's not like some companies. Depends on which company it is, right? I mean, if they're treating you well, you're able to make ends meet. You're able to actually have extra, maybe take vacation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's no reason to get up and start moving around.
Yeah.
You know, especially as you get later on years in your life, where you're just like, I like who I am. You know, it's like that old adage where, you know, some people just can never have enough.
Yeah.
They're always trying to get more and more and more. But if you have enough, you can live a way better fulfilled life. Because you're like, I have enough.
Right.
I got my kids, I got my family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a perception thing for a lot of people. And I think especially if the employer treats the employees right, there's like, if you're doing it the right way, then you shouldn't have that much crazy turnover.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean because I'm smiling because we just had our company party yesterday. And like we have some OGs who they've been there for 3 years, and it's literally like their longest time being at a job.
Right, exactly.
So I think that's a really cool experience. But then we also have some young kids that this is their first like big boy job.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? So to be
like to be there on a time and be ready to work.
Right. Yeah, man. So, but we've had our fair share of turnover, especially on the retail side, just because retail is notorious for higher turnover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, retail is super tough because you're dealing with customers. Now, in the power washing business or maybe in the compound pharmacy stuff, were you ever customer facing? Were you ever like talking to people?
Yeah, man. So actually, every job I had in my entire life was customer facing, except for that compound job. Except for that. So by the time I started driving, my dad pretty much sent me on to job sites for myself. There were some job sites where I had to oversee like a crew of 5 guys because we were doing a complex or whatever, something like that. But yeah, after that, so I went on. Let's see. So I went on to. I worked for New Balance.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah. Dude, my first day I met Jim Davis.
Did you really?
And I had no idea who he was. I mean, I knew who he was by name.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I wasn't expecting to go because they had. And you're probably.
How was he around here? Were you in Connecticut or is this?
No, this is in Boston. This is in Boston. So remember, I finished undergraduate. Then I moved to I moved to Natick back to Massachusetts. But so New Balance, you might be familiar with this. They invested in a health and wellness center. They have a sports complex.
Yeah, visit a sports complex.
For sure,
yeah,
bro.
my
So
daughters had like basketball games.
Oh, that's ill, bro.
Yeah.
So like in 2012, it was being built, and they had just finished a health and wellness facility. So amongst loving weed as a teenager, I also started working out, and I got involved with weed around the same time. So like 13, 14 years old or so. So I've constantly always been involved in working out. So they invested in a health and wellness spot. I had just finished school. I just finished undergraduate, and then I applied for a job there, and they hit me up. And I was one of their first employees for their health and wellness facility. So on my first shift, I'd see Jim Davis, and I thought it was interesting because, I had all these bigwigs, man. It was a big deal, you know what I mean, for them to open up that health and wellness, knowing that the next iteration is a sports complex for where the Bruins practice and the Celtics practice.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But that was a really good experience, bro. I worked in a gym before that. I was a personal trainer, all while I was doing the farm tech stuff.
So it's interesting. So now we're talking about you've been, loving the plant since 13.
Yeah.
And working out, and people always have those stereotypes of like, oh, you're just some stoner, you're like lying on the couch watching like Dazed and Confused on repeat or something like that. You know what I mean?
No.
But it's not like that.
It's not like that, bro. And I think it's very unique on where I'm from, bro, because like it's kind of like I think we broke like kind of like high school stereotypes. Because all the people that I knew that were into drugs, they were all athletes.
Right.
So it wasn't like the druggies, the athletes, and the emos. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I'm talking like kids I went to high school getting caught with steroids and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was prevalent even back in my day.
You know what I mean?
10 years on you, but like, yeah, it's a thing.
It was mixed, bro. You know what I mean? So, and even now, like, unfortunately, a lot of the fatalities from some of the homies are kids that played sports and, started off with whatever drug and kind of escalated to, you know what I mean?
Well, especially if you're an athlete, you get hit hard, you get some pain.
Right.
Like, now I got to go medicate myself.
And that's exactly what it was, man. I used to lift until I couldn't feel my arms, bro. And then I just go smoke with the homies, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and then that kind of progressed.
It's part of your recovery.
It's part of your recovery, bro. You know what I mean? So that, like, even now to this day, like, I put on weed lotion before I work out, after, you know what I mean? Especially if I'm lifting heavy for legs.
Do you make your own?
We do.
Yeah,
we make our own. They didn't sell that well because it was kind of like a co-branded opportunity, but we're definitely going to get back into it because there's just too many people that ask about it. And,
I know.
We hand them out for samples, and they're like, bro, when you guys making more of this shit?
I know. I feel the same thing. I feel the same pain because I make a lot of medicine for my family. And, my mother, my mother-in-law,
absolutely,
neighbors and stuff like that. But like, it's kind of like my duty. I feel it's like my responsibility. Like, I have access to all this knowledge and all this weed, basically. I'm like, I got to figure out how to do this. And of course, we're doing it with our own personal use products and stuff like that on the side. But, we've also looked at like, well, what would a topical look like in the market and stuff like that. But we've never been able to justify it.
Yeah.
Ever.
That's
because it's like you sell it to some stores.
Right.
It was like, oh, I only sold one this week.
Yeah.
That one person got what they needed.
Right.
And I feel like
Right.
We can't make the justification from it monetarily.
Yeah.
If we had our own dispensary, maybe, because people would know where to come for our stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Even then, but you're saying we also had to pull it too. Right?
Abysmal. Because it's not only just that we have a dispensary, but we're in a very unique part of the state. Yeah. I could say Worcester, but it's like the state. Like, people come in every day, dude, and it's
I want to get to that.
Horrible, bro. You want to get to that?
Yeah. So, but just to take one step back. Finish that last thought. So you were in customer service.
Yeah. Every job I had, basically.
So you're always out there. You're always talking to people.
Yeah.
And so you know how to handle yourself. It maybe took a few years to like get a grasp on it, but then you kind of get comfortable with talking to people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you have like a retail program, like internally, like training program?
You know what, man? In all the sales and marketing jobs that I've had, that's where honestly I'm the most critical on myself. But then I realized that it's not a silo. Like, I'm not just going to be able to create it myself. In fact, I don't want to. So this year we've worked with some workforce development on like leadership training, and the end of 2023 and then all of 2024. So then the next iteration for workforce development is to revamp like our sales training. So I'm excited about that for the next year, just because to be real, it's not only just retail, but it's also our wholesale efforts. You know what I mean? So part of my experience, I worked in renewable energies so I left healthcare 2014 all the way up to 2019. So what's that? 5 years or so, 5 years that I was in. It seemed like it was a little bit more, maybe. Yeah, 5 or 6 years or so. So I was a sales manager selling solar, selling batteries. I worked for NRG. I don't know if you heard of NRG. It's the largest energy company and one of the largest energy companies in the world. And I work for Sunrun. They're a market leader in home solar and home
I've
batteries.
done a Sunrun.
Do you really?
That's Sunrun, but it's I know, but they got bought, and it was the other one before.
Vivint. Yeah,
I was a Vivint.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So a lot that transition to that job came from me going door to door in my home city, in my hometown. When I was with my dad, I was in a lot of houses with my dad. You know what I mean? So I felt very comfortable.
The familiarity.
Yeah, man. And I believe in renewables, bro. You know what I mean? Like, so you
100%. Yes.
Pair that up. It's like it was a no-brainer.
Same here. And like in I also did door to door for a minute, and I was abysmal. I was
really
terrible at it. Well, because especially at that age, it was maybe early 20s, maybe late teens. I can't remember exactly. But I was selling door to door Verizon, Fios, or something like that. It's just coming out. I can't remember when.
Yeah.
And I was
really
so bad, because I would be like, I don't want either the rejection again, because it's door to door, right? And so, it's like one of the things that, especially in training, you have to think about how you are passionate about the product. Right. I wasn't that passionate. Yeah. I'm like, it's internet, if you want it or not.
Right.
Like, you want to switch off of whatever was back then, whatever, some other cable company.
Right.
And they were just like, no, I'm good. Slam. And I'm like, I wasn't passionate about it.
That's hard for a teenager.
Yeah. It was tough. But I sold one package the entire time I was there. I was there for like a week, and I was like, this is not for me. The last day, I remember, of selling door-to-door Verizon Fios, because they contracted out.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, we're just some freelance contractor at that point. I remember after like the third door, I just sat in my car. I was like, I'm not going back. I'm not leaving my car.
Were you paid hourly, bro?
No, but I didn't want to I didn't want the person who was like the boss or whatever.
Yeah.
Me be like, oh, he only did half a day. So I'd be like, oh, let me just finish the rest of the day in my car. I'm not even going to leave it.
Yeah.
And I'd report into him like, hey, I'm on my way home.
Yeah. That's man.
Yeah, so I was not cut out for it. But I feel like stuff like that gives you those experiences, that resilience to take rejection.
Yeah.
And so if you can hang with it and actually do it, then I think it reaps a crazy amount of rewards
for you're
able to absolutely handle yourself in those situations.
Yeah.
So next year, or actually continuation of what you've been started in 2024, 2023, 2024, education, training, stuff like that on the sales floor, but also for your wholesale people.
Absolutely. So
tell me a little bit about like what makes that area so special, I guess.
The wholesaling piece?
Not the wholesaling,
sales.
Let's talk about the store itself, the dispensary side of it. What makes that store so unique, I guess, from the location plus the clientele? Like, take me through that a little.
Oh, man. I think this starts with the location and the local people. So when I was building out that space, I was there every day for like a year and a half. Like, no lie, dude. Like, legitimately, I was counting down the days. And I live 4 minutes away from there. So I'm a member of the community. My kid's school is 4 minutes away from where the location is. And, you know, I would get stopped in the street, and I still do every day, you know what I mean, with people on their opinions about what we should do. You know what I mean? Opinions, right. But some of it's valid, bro. Right. You know what I mean? And it's also these people's experience with not only cannabis, but other dispensaries that they visited. Mm. So being able to aggregate that information and be like, all right, how can we infuse this into our, you know, what we're doing? And one that stood out to me was a guy was like, bro, I'm not trying to pay $20 for a pre-roll. Like, straight up, dude. You know what I mean? Like, and this was in probably 2019 or so, or maybe 2020.
$20 pre-roll.
A $20 pre-roll. Yeah, man. You remember those days, bro? For real. Like, when we opened up, we had pre-rolls on our menu for $16, and then that was before tax, you know, but we also had pre-rolls on our menu for $8 since day one, because those are the ones that we produced in-house. Mm-hmm. So I think really just knowing that we're in a low-income neighborhood, bro, that's where it really starts with. And people tend to talk about price compression and obviously try to drive down prices, especially from a purchasing perspective, to get a bang for their buck. However, like, we are in the hood, bro. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of crime, whether it be petty crime, whether it be major crimes, homicides, bro. Like, you know, the people get broken into all the time, you know. So I think
all the stores in that area.
All the stores.
Not because,
bro, not just because of the dispensary. Right. Tom's Deli, the nicest people, nicest Polish people in the world. They work 6 days a week, husband and wife. Dude, they got broken into like 2 weeks before we did. And I'm like, what do you think you're going to get out of the deli? Like, he leaves his register. Yeah, right? He leaves his register open just to prove that there's, like, you know, nothing.
That old trick, right? You know what I mean? So when you're in you park your car in the street you don't know, you're like, all right, let me take everything out the car.
It broke the
when they look in, they be like, oh, there's nothing in it.
Yeah. I heard Sway in the morning. You know Sway in the morning?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, because he's from San Francisco, and he was like, there's a trick when you have a car, just roll your windows down.
Yeah.
So no one can break it. Take everything out and just roll your windows down.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's like, go look through the car. I mean, especially like places I've heard in LA, people like sleep in the car then.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So obviously, a low income area, but it's like one of the things that makes Major Bloom so good is it's the fact that you were there since day one. You knew it. You knew the culture,
of course, bro.
Location.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing, is because the state wants to talk about disproportionate impacted communities, right? But like, how many of these businesses are actually in the hood, bro? You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that when I think about Major Bloom in the future, it is something that I'd love to do and replicate no matter where we are, because every city has a project, has a hood, a rough area, you know what I mean? And to be able to invest over $1 million in the project, bro, like, who does that?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it has its challenges, bro. A lot of loitering that we deal with on a daily basis, people passing out from drug overdoses literally in our front door. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So.
Well, because you're also, isn't there a methadone clinic or something?
There's one being built soon. Yeah, like a little safe house.
Something about that. Yeah. So and yeah, I don't know if that's a PR term, PC term for it or whatever, but basically, like, because there's still rampant like opiate type use in that area, and so you get people just nodding off
on a daily. Like, we're accustomed to it. You know what I mean? A lot of alcoholism too, because we're right next to a liquor store.
Do you have like special training for that or is it just because they already know what they're getting into?
No, I mean, the first time it happened, actually, we had one of our employees, or she took it upon herself to give CPR to somebody that was basically dying from overdose. And then since then, we were advised by like our insurance company, like, you know what I mean?
And then call the professionals.
Yeah, call the professionals, do it, you know what I mean? But she was CPR trained, you know what I mean?
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, for her, kudos to her, but like,
for sure.
Careful.
Right, absolutely. So no, but really what it is the local police, because again, it's not because we sell weed, it's the neighborhood that we're in. So every quarter or so, we have a meeting with the Canal District Association, and usually there's politicians there, police officers, and they tell us exactly what to do. I mean, the police department in Worcester, they're short-staffed by like 30 or 40% or so. And, you know, they're like, don't even waste calling the non-emergency line, because we have this new system that if you call 911, we know that this is going to be a hot area, so we'll send more patrols out.
Because they already know where you're calling from.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been one of the things that we've been trained on, is that like, even if it's someone loitering, just call 911. You know what I mean? As opposed to the non-emergency line. But again, like, a lot of this stuff are factors outside of Major Bloom that have really shaped the DNA of who we are. Because a lot of the employees that we have, they come from these areas. You know, they grew up around these areas. So there is that level of empathy towards, you know, people that are in the street that we see every day. Exactly. You know what I mean? And it kind of like permeates into the experience that customers have when they walk in the door. So it's definitely one of those things where it's a challenge, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way, bro. Like, I don't want to be in some bougie area. You know what I mean? I want to be investing in a community that is disenfranchised and ignored, and then we can be on the positive trend up with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting to the positive side of that. And so is there, like, from the other stakeholders, I guess, like the community or even from the state, is there anything else they could be doing kind of better to support?
That's a good question, bro. Yeah. That is a great question. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about my homie that owns a consignment sneaker shop. I was there 2 days ago, and he was like, bro, I can't take this anymore. Like, come January 1st, I'm shutting down. There's just too many addicts out here, bro, like in front of his spot. So he's a little further down Millbrae Street. And last night, actually, at our holiday party, we were at Summit Lounge, and I was talking to Kyle, and he's pretty active in the Canal District. And he was like, yeah, he was the one that told me that they're building actually like a methadone clinic or like some kind of safe house. So I think the city, they know the deal, that it's beginning to get like ebbs and flows, and we get a lot of people that are not even from Worcester. You know, people are migrating from Boston or, you know, other cities and towns. So I think one of the big things is them building that new safe house.
Right. Like a support network or more support.
It's a daytime shelter where you get free internet, charging stations, showers. I don't know if they're going to provide foods, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, I hope it will help. But, yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. So and in Worcester, they have a quality of life team. I've never seen that in any other municipality.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So basically, they're there as like a social service, if you will. So I think they're doing their part. But it's still tough, bro. It's really tough.
And do you how many stores are actually in Worcester right now?
There's 13. I want to say
there's 13 stores in Worcester now.
Yeah.
And what number were you when you launched?
The 13th.
Oh, you were the last one.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. All the other ones have been there for.
Yeah,
it is longer.
Yeah, I mean, they've changed hands. So like Nudia went to Cookies, and then there was man, I know forgot the subsidiary. It's like Sun something, but they were
Sunnyside.
Nah, well, yeah, them too. Yeah, they were Cultivate, and they went to Sunnyside. But there's another one. Yeah, Cultivate on Millbrook Street. They're now called Worcester Cannabis.
Cannabis of Worcester.
Yeah. Wow. But they were some big MSO before that.
And is 13 the cap, or just that was it?
So there's supposed to be 15. There's one more that's coming on.
Oh, okay. There's more coming.
One more. They had their host agreement and license before us. So
wow, it takes that long sometimes.
They're local, money stuff going on. But then True Leaf, True Leaf pulled out of the market too. Yep. So, and they opened like a week before us. Didn't last as long.
No.
Don't care how many billions of dollars you got.
Right. And how many billions of dollars you spent on building that store.
Yeah.
Some stories.
Yeah.
They spent on that store.
Really? In Worcester?
Yeah.
This is a tiny store. But I think I've heard some stories too.
So yeah, and then now, but again, doesn't matter sometimes how much money you have. Mm-hmm. You could easily spend it on a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
You got to work on what matters.
Yeah.
So did you fundraise for Major Bloom?
Yeah, so it started off as a labor of love, me just taking my commissions check and putting it towards maxing out my credit cards.
Yep.
And I brought on a partner who is still helping me operate the business till this day. He put in a little bit of coin. And then I had two like major tranches of funds. I had a $300,000 loan from the guy that actually owns the building that we're in now.
Okay.
So rather than him saying, hey, I need to get this up to code, I'm going to invest it, I was like, no. Because there was nothing in my building. You remember?
I remember. I was there.
You were there when there was no walls, bro. Yeah, nothing.
The show.
Nothing. No electricity, nothing. So yeah, basically just doing that. And then my college quarterback, He is him and his dad started a business years ago that took off to be successful, and he's into real estate development now. He has a partner that does construction, renovation. So they came on as smart capital essentially.
Excellent. That's fantastic. And so, fast forwarding back to today, with everything and I know you have a second dispensary.
Soon to be, hopefully.
Soon.
Yeah.
But before we get there, and this is what I think it's going to be really interesting for the listener, who, especially people who are in the industry, who are owner operators or just operators in general, would more money help your Worcester location?
No. Oh, like currently, right now?
Yeah, right now. If you were to be given a $500,000 check, would that help?
I would probably, well, our tax liability is extremely high, right? You know what I mean? Like,
do you have to pay a Worcester tax too, or just 3%?
So it is just 3%.
Okay, so you get the excise tax, which is 11%.
It comes
the sales tax is 16.25 or whatever it is for normal sales tax. So it's an excise tax for the state, but then on top of that is the municipality tax at 3%.
Yeah, it's total 20%.
Yeah.
But yeah, would it help? Of course. Who would turn down $500,000? You know what I mean?
But like, if you think about kind of like where would you use that money?
Right. It's not operational, bro. To be real, you know what I mean. I love, and I don't want to be biased here, but we got 4 licenses with less than $1.5 million. Like, who does that?
Right.
I talked to some of these guys who spent $30 million
just to get.
And these guys will tell me like, I wish we didn't do it, especially the guys that invested in cultivation. I wish we didn't do it like this. You know what I mean? Right. So for me to have that true like grit story, like, because I mean, you started businesses before. Where do you go for capital? Your own?
Right, exactly.
Your family and friends, right? And then you go out to private equity or.
And I feel like that's a lot of entrepreneurs do it that way in that exact order too.
Right.
Because it's like, well, you use your own money first because I got to show a little skin, but so like I got to make sure this is actually going to work.
Right.
And then once you're like, I think it'll work, then you kind of like, hand between your legs that are like, can I, do you guys have any money over there? Because I could really use some. And then it's like friends and family. It's like, all right, I'll give you a couple $1,000s or whatever. You kind of get started. And then eventually you can prove something out, and then you can potentially attract people. But even then, you're only really attracting angels, maybe.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just high net worth individuals who happen to have, can tow $10, $20, $30, $50,000 towards something and not really, think too much of it. And then you're going to still prove that on top of that to go eventually to the VC side because they're looking for obviously real money.
Right.
They're looking for people who are making millions.
For sure.
But I asked that question because I think to myself, if I had $500,000, how I would spend it and stuff like that. And I have very direct needs for it right now because cash flow is crazy in this industry. But I was thinking about your story and be like, well, you hire more bud tenders? No, really.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like community education, more stuff like that maybe.
Right.
But like what else it's hard to, and I think that's what a lot of, especially single store dispensary owners need to realize is they got to focus on the low cost stuff that's going to get more impact and focusing on your customer more than maybe focusing on your neighbor.
For sure.
Because you're the 13th. You said it's like you're focused on getting doing what's right by the customer.
Oh, absolutely.
So when I think about those things, I always think to myself, location obviously would be the number one deciding factor for anybody who's opening a dispensary nowadays. I mean, like, is this the location and can I make money here? Or is it going to be sustainable even? Because we've seen plenty come and go now. And the second thing is just like, how lean can I build this thing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what I think people who are going to survive is going to be building lean and staying lean.
For sure.
So even with $500,000, it's almost like you put that in the war chest to be like, if I ever need it, I have it. You know what I mean? But other than that, you use it for.
Well, the thing is especially if we explicitly talk about the retail component of the business, like, and you've been in our space, we have a basement that's 4,000 square feet that's undeveloped, right? So now we're talking about expanding, right? So would it go towards the operation? It would go towards how we can build a bigger brand, talk about another location,
Well, the manufacturing is also in that same building?
It is, yeah.
So then you could potentially blow up that whole bottom.
Exactly.
Basement.
And that's the plan, especially with the research too, is to get the basement built out and
So you could hold a research license and a manufacturer dispensary license at the same time? Because I know for testing, for testing labs, you can't actually hold a license.
Right.
That touches product for sale.
So the problem is consumption, right? So there would be some, unless we can figure out some way to do it, and I have no doubt that we could potentially, but on-site consumption might be a tricky part. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah, well, you have that one door. You have that back door, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out, like, where in your layout would social consumption work. Is that something you're thinking about?
Oh, no. I'm talking about research, bro.
I thought you said consumption.
Yeah. So research allows you to consume on facility.
Oh,
for research purposes.
So you can
right?
run your own.
Take this gummy. Hit me back in an hour. Let me know what's up.
Survey.
Yeah, basically, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's super interesting. I hadn't thought about that angle before.
Yeah.
Because, we do a ton of R&D here, so the potentially can even be useful here. I think Cureleaf just got the first research.
They did.
Is what I saw.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And, it's not that sought after because it's like, how do you build a business model around something that...
Exactly. That's a different license type. Yeah. Like, is it going to be even just sustainable?
Right.
As it is.
And the only way it is that if you couple it with other licenses, like you just don't have a research license.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know anyone that does that.
Yeah,
of course, Cureleaf owns probably every kind of license there is except for independent lab.
Right, exactly. That's like the only one they can't have.
Yeah, basically.
So, yeah, let's go back to that longevity part, though, because talk about Cureleaf, talk about Trulieve left Worcester.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what, in your opinion, I guess, because I already kind of hinted at a few thoughts that I have about what makes a dispensary kind of like sustainable, like what long-lasting?
First thing that comes to mind is the people, and I don't just mean the people that work there, or the people that invest in it, or whoever the owners are. I think it's an aggregate of all stakeholders and really understanding what that means. So as I give the example about listening to the community, people have stopped me in the street. You know what I mean? These are people who are coming into the store, but then also the fact that we have a very diverse group of sales associates and bud tenders. You know what I mean? Like, they all love weed. They're not here just because it's a new industry. Like, they really love weed. So I think aside from the people, it's definitely product next. Being in the location that we're in, everyone can say this just by looking at state data, flower heavy. However, like, we sell a lot of flower, bro.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask next is, like, what's that breakdown?
Yeah.
Right? So is it like 90? I mean, what's the average right now? Like 67% flower?
Well, it depends on who you ask, because some people consider the pre-rolls being looped in there. But I
keep them separate.
Yeah, like traditional flour. I haven't looked at
like eighths
the numbers recently. Actually, what I was looking at, because our delivery is starting to take off, was I was surprised that vapes were I think it was vapes behind flour. So it was a flour, vapes, edibles, and pre-rolls, and I thought it would remain the same, that like flour and pre-rolls would be 1
and 2.
Yeah, basically, but it was just really strange.
So what's your breakdown?
In store, it's definitely flour, pre-rolls, vapes, and then edibles.
Right. Okay.
So
it's all the smokable stuff.
Right.
First, and then very finally edibles.
Edibles. Yeah. So, but yeah, for us, it's just knowing that people understand our process, that when we bring in bulk flour, we have a level of quality assurance that comes with it. So we sell a lot of our own process, package, manufactured goods, especially when it comes to pre-rolls. We started off, as I mentioned, just selling the $8 pre-roll, a high quality $8 pre-roll. And then we started to quickly realize over time that, especially with this price compression, is that we can get single pre-rolls for anyone and still put them on our menu at an economical price. So we started making larger quantities. We do eighths, the little minis. Those have taken off in the last 6 months or so.
Like
so
little minis, like
7 packs. Yeah, 7 pack of half grams to get an eighth. And then we also do a lot of 4 grams, basically 4 full pre-rolls.
Nice.
So basically it's selling more in bulk. But again, it's the opportunity for us to, curate, have that level of quality assurance that we pass on to our community, and they're pretty used to it. They know if they're buying pre-rolls from us, then it's going to, be affordable. But
I think that's actually a really important part of being a retail manufacturer in the same building even, is that like the people who are packing it are like, they love weed.
Right.
And they're going to make sure it's good.
They know.
You know what I mean? Like they're going to be like, oh, if it's dust, they're not going to be packing it.
Right.
So quality control is way tighter.
And it goes on to who we purchase from in terms of like bulk material as well, because we've had our fair share.
How many people have you tried?
That's a good question, bro. We're probably around like maybe 40 or 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What are your 50 different cultivators?
Different cultivators, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I know they exist, but I couldn't name them off the top of my head, 40 or 50 off the top of my head.
And what I was getting at is some of them, we don't re-up, bro. You know what I mean? They send us 5 pounds of some garbage, bro.
Right.
You better believe we're not going to buy it again.
Exactly. So there are some more reputable ones out there that are consistent. You always have some really high quality stuff.
And you know what's really cool about it?
What's that?
Is that usually it's the smaller.
Oh, I don't doubt it. There's a lot of small mom and pops out there that like are trying to do what's right, and they're trying to do it the right way, and it's hard sometimes because they don't always get that recognition.
Right.
Because it's just like you hear about mids from MSOs all day, and it's just like, well, have you tried this one brand? And I'm not going to shout out any specific brand, just because I don't want to get in trouble.
Try to stay away.
No favoritism here.
Yeah.
But if you've got really good, really great eighth or even just pre-rolls, right? Like, getting it into the distribution network is just busted here. Right. So it's like you go to any, there's so many different factors at play, of course, but if you go into a store that's profitable, that's actually able to sustain itself just on its sales alone without doing anything weird, and how do you get those products in those stores? You know what I mean? Right. Everybody's duplicating. All the wholesale people are running around all Massachusetts, cars back and forth all day today, like a big spider web of highways to get to those stores. Then the buyers who are receiving them are like maybe seeing 3 different wholesale people that day, just randomly popping in, like, hope everything's okay, But like some of those smaller brands, I feel for them because it took us a long time to build our distribution network. Right. It is not easy to get these relationships. And we have curated them over years now. Right. So I feel for the people, especially like small craft cultivators who are coming in right now and be like, I get the best weed and blah, blah, blah. And I can't wait for people to try it. You get it into one store. Sells okay. Right. The guy's like, all right, I'll take a re-up. You know what I mean? Like, and that's your sale. You know what I mean? So you spend millions to get to that starting point, and then you get like your first month is like $5,000 in sales.
Right.
But where I'm going with that ultimately is obviously community matters to you a lot, right? Sure. As well as the quality of the products you're putting on your shelf. Yeah. Mean a ton, right? To just make sure you get the people coming back in, and the people appreciate that, and they can expect that from you, right? Now, is there like any other things that you do on, say, the marketing side to get these people in? Yeah. Is it like a different marketing tactic than you would take if you were located in Boston or if you were located in the suburbs of Grafton or Groton or whatever? Yeah. Like, how does your marketing shift, or has you always been tuned into that stuff?
Yeah, I think it's amplifying those two things, community and quality, and then being able to, I guess really just like digitize it, if you will. So we make a ton of content, as you know, you've been on the show before. And more recently, we've gotten into meta ads. Okay. Yeah, which has been so cool.
I have seen some dispensaries popping up in my feed. I'm like, all right, good job, guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So it's really cool to be able to engage with community in that capacity, because if you see an ad and then you see like customer that you see a couple times a week commenting on it, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I think that's really cool. But I would say, yeah, man, just like content creation and being authentic with it is definitely the way I look at it. Sometimes some people don't really understand it, but I'm like, I feel like it's our duty to be able to do stuff like this, like create content, because that's how we got into this stigmatized world that cannabis is bad. This is propaganda.
You have to be openly talking.
Yeah, man.
You can't be hiding it around.
They lied to our parents and our grandparents about weed. And what do they use? TV. Right. You know what I mean? Newsletters, bro. Right. Like,
now social media has democratized a lot of that, where everybody can create content. And it's good content. People are going to watch it. Right. That's what it comes down to. And that's what we try to create here. It's just like really great sound bites that people can kind of latch on to and be like, that's right, that's how it's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Right? That's why I always try to have, genuine, authentic people on my podcast. Because I really want people to hear like from real true voices in the market. And not just some, PR person in California talking about the Massachusetts market.
Right. And for me, man, that goes back to real experience, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't care.
I was actually going to bring that up because, so here's the thing. So on my panel I just had on social consumption, Todd Down was on there, and then he posted the next day about basically saying like, hey, everybody come, like, why do you need social media? Basically, you have to be in the culture. But it seems like you're taking a hybrid stance. You're in the culture, but you're also very much on social media. Right. And so like, and he actually, there was just what triggered the memory was he used a very similar phrase, which is you got to be in the culture. You got to be like on the site, on the scene, on the ground, boots on the ground.
Absolutely.
been, but you can utilize social media too, right?
Right.
So this is more of a message for Todd than anybody else. Be like, you can use social media. Social media isn't evil.
Yeah.
And you can even run meta ads and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you compliantly, if you know what you're doing.
If you know what you're doing, right? And, an IG and FB who I think our clips will be on IG, of course, for this podcast, as well as on Facebook. But the interesting thing that I think about is, is IG and FB, to Todd's point, have been very clear they do not want anything cannabis related on the website. Yeah. All their new updates and stuff like that on all their terms, they're very clear by saying, like, we do not want any cannabis content that promotes the use of cannabis.
Right.
Now, that can be construed however they want to see it. You know what I mean? So if you just talk about, like, hey, this is a really good eighth, you're promoting cannabis. So it's like you can get banned.
It's true.
Yeah. Have you actually struggled with any of the IGFP stuff on the other platforms?
Not since we work with a new agency.
Okay. The agency kind of handles those relationships?
Well, yeah. It was more or less in the past, bro. But in the past, I didn't have the mindset of censorship. Like, of course, growing up watching BT, MTV, like, things are blurred out. Right. You know what I mean? And you don't necessarily think about censorship in that capacity, but as having skin in the game of someone who wants to reach people.
Right.
You know what I mean? What's the best way to reach people if you are, kind of blacklisted industry? And the answer is censorship. You know what I mean? But I think
self-censorship.
Right.
Censor yourself, seeing, what you can say, what you can't say.
Exactly.
Still get your message across.
Yes, and people will understand. You know what I mean?
Gardening, right?
Right, exactly. Like, it's like, all right, let me just take out the word broccoli. Let me take out the word weed and put broccoli.
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting. I like to think of it as creative compliance for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this industry is full of just really creative people.
Oh,
because
for sure.
You have to be creative to even survive in this market. If you're coming out of state and you're just dropping in a new brand and be like, hey, we're here, it's not going to fly. It'll be like, people will be like, oh, that's fun. You get a couple stores in and you never get that reorder because nobody's ever heard of you. Mm-hmm. You have to actually have a presence, a strong presence, whether it's through social media or boots on the ground or both, in Massachusetts to have a sustainable brand. And that's one of the things we had to find out for ourselves, because we didn't really have a brand. We built a brand, and over the years we kept on refining that brand, and it's not done.
Yeah, it's never done.
And that's why it's funny you hear comparisons to cannabis to like CPG happens all the time. Like consumer packaged goods. Okay, so is, this Spindrift or Coca-Cola or whatever, like how is weed like that? But in some ways, it's not like that either, right? Yeah. So it's like, you can have a nice, beautiful branding and packaging and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, this is functional medicine for a lot of people. So, like, how do you bridge that gap, right? And do you think about packaging, or do you think are you like
ad nauseum?
Okay, so like, what's hot right now? What are you guys thinking about doing? Like, do you think about new even dude tubes for your pre-rolls? Or
Well, packaging is important for us because, again, we do processing manufacturing on site. We have this really cool label printer that costs a lot of money.
Those. Which one do you have?
I think it's the Alfina.
Alfina. I looked at Alfina L510 the other day.
Oh, yeah. That's
502 or something.
We have 09, I think.
Or 901?
901.
That's a fancy one.
It's cool. Yeah. It's cool. The price has dropped significantly since we bought it. I think when we bought it, it was like $12,000. Now it's around $7,000.
Right.
But they have a newer version that we're considering investing in. But yes,
being able to print your own labels in-house, for like us, I don't know if we'll ever fully scale or move everything over.
Right.
But for R&D purposes, because we're looking at designs on two-dimensional screens.
Right.
Like, let's print something out and wrap it on one of our bottles and just actually feel it for us.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the things that's missing from our org right now is on the packaging side anyways, is being able to do this fast iterative kind of like design, be like, I like this, I don't like that, and keep on refining with a physical product without having to just look at a two-dimensional screen all day.
Yeah. No, and that's definitely been one of the differentiators for us, especially as you talk about creative people, like the guys that run marketing with me and girls they're like peas in a pod, bro. Like, and these are young kids, like, this kid John, he started off as my intern back before we opened, you know what I mean? And
one of the OGs then.
OG, bro. And like, it's just crazy how we met because it was through the community. I was on the board of the YMCA in Worcester, and his roommate and his best friend knew that I was opening the store, and he was like, oh, I got a friend that's a really good graphic designer if you need one. And at the time, I was getting ready to buy this label printer because I knew we needed it for manufacturing.
Right.
Yeah, bro. So, this kid comes in and obviously has a tremendous amount of talent with graphic design, but he actually knew how to work this label printer, bro. So like, if it wasn't for him, like, and this isn't just like a normal printer, bro. You know what I mean? Like, our calibration.
Fancy.
Yeah, man. So
You gotta dial them in and everything.
yes, bro.
And then you gotta buy the special medium,
All that stuff,
labels
bro.
to get. Yeah, so
All that stuff.
that's some of the stuff that I've been working on. Because as a founder, as you're aware, as you probably are similar, you can like founders can only focus on like one group at a time.
Right.
You can't just be like, I'm going to do all these things. You have to be like, so my sprint for production is almost at the end. So I've been spending a ton of time with manufacturing,
Right.
equipment, and all this other stuff, including label printers and stuff like that, just so we can get really, really efficient. So now I can move my focus into like marketing again.
Absolutely.
Because I like the marketing stuff is fun. Actually, it's all kind of fun for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have the privilege of being able to like kind of like decide what to focus on.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So
I do know what you mean, bro.
I'm a terrible employee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm so
Did
scattered.
you ever go back to being W-2?
That's actually a really great question. I mean, for the right person, potentially, but it'd have to be somebody who's like 10x higher than me. You know what I mean? So somebody who's made like $100 million plus kind of situation. Then I'd be like, all right, this is somebody I could learn from.
Right.
But for the most part, I kind of always loved that freedom, and that's just the entrepreneurial spirit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a terrible employee.
Yeah.
I'm not even a good manager.
Yeah, no.
No, I'm a terrible manager. Ask my direct report.
I guess it depends on your discipline, though.
But I'm a leader.
Yeah.
I'll point in the direction. I'll say we're going there,
Right.
and we all march step in line and to go to that area, and we crush it,
Yeah.
right? And that's where my skill is, to be like, I see where the puck is moving,
Right.
so I'm like, we're going this way now.
Oh.
So we have a bunch more things cooked up for 2025, but like for entrepreneurial spirit, it's just like I said about my son, like, don't worry, or even all of my children, like, don't worry about your first business.
Yeah.
Get to your second, get to your third, get to your fourth. And I love that old adage of, you know, you're 40 no's away from $1 million. Right? You just got to go out and ask.
Yeah.
Keep on asking. You get the no, you got one.
Yeah.
Go to the next no. All right, I got another no. And like, keep on going. When you get to 40 no's, you have $1 million, right? So, but maybe, I don't know about W2. I don't know. I'm too spoiled at this point. I make my own schedule. If my son has a basketball game today,
Yeah.
I'm just going to be like,
How old's your son, bro?
15 now. He
Oh,
just turned 15.
What?
I know, I'm an old man.
Yeah. I like the salt and pepper, bro. I gotta tell you, I keep wanting to embrace it. Like, come on, bring it out.
I made a promise to myself very early on that I wouldn't do anything. I'm not like color my
Please
hair or
don't
anything
do
like that.
it.
Even right now, like, I'm growing my hair out.
Yeah.
Just for fun,
Yeah.
because I haven't done that since I was in my early 20s. I
Yeah,
just have
bro.
like hair down to my shoulders from my 20s.
Yeah.
And I've been basically doing buzz cuts for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just gonna grow it out.
Grow it out, bro. Embrace it.
It helped. I mean, one of the part of the decisions why I had to grow it out was because I'm practically broke. I'm like, I can't afford it.
Yeah,
Right
so
now, you know
what?
what I mean?
That's why I got this Casio watch.
That thing is gonna last you forever. Though.
Yeah. My Apple Watch broke during the pandemic. I had no money.
Casio.
$20, bro.
Exactly. It works. It the time.
Yeah.
Right? And even better, it doesn't distract me all day.
Yeah,
with,
for
like,
real,
updates.
bro. And I don't have to charge it either.
Exactly. That battery probably lasts 10 years. But it's just one of those things that, like, you know, and I think they're going actually really back to that, you know, if you had $500,000 right now dumped into your bank account, what would you do with it?
Yeah.
To me, it's more of just like, those constraints are awesome sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you have to get real creative.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to throw more money at it, and it puts itself, and you just kind of forget it. 3 months later, it comes back, oh, that didn't work, but you just spent $50,000 on something, right? Where it's like, you have to make sure that you stretch every dollar in the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
Staying lean, cutting your payroll as much as you can, because payroll is a huge component of the cannabis industry. As much as would love to hire everybody in the world, we just simply can't afford it. Because I think there's a lot of really talented people in the market, especially with the exit of like a Rev Clinics.
Yeah. I saw you post the other day, actually, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, Rev, apparently everything but their dispensaries, but I don't know. I happened to be on Facebook Marketplace the other day because I'm always hunting for a good deal for like a desk or something like that.
Yeah.
And I saw some of the point of sale equipment
Oh my
for
goodness.
Rev Clinics on there.
Yo, that's wild.
And I was just like, and I saw like a big poppy like
that's wild.
side of it. I'm like, that's Rev Clinics.
Yo, that's wild.
I was like, I don't know, I don't think about it. And then a few weeks later, or like whatever, around that same time, I saw that their manufacturing innovation was getting closed.
Wow.
But there are a lot of talented people out there, and so I always have, and I have huge hopes for the market and the industry. 2024 has been pivotal for us even, and our reformulation of products to bring out the Good Vibes line.
For sure.
And for us, it's like 2025 is going to be just a phenomenal year for us. We're setting things up right now. And another thing I always like to tell my team is, you don't have to wait till January to do New Year, New You. You can start now. You don't have to wait till January 1st to be like, I'm going to all these resolutions. No, just start now. Like, don't wait. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we always have that action for bias inside the company. But speaking of the future, are you looking forward to legalization? Seeing as you're right now currently one-stop shop manufacturing in retail.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind innately, without hesitation, is just taxes. Paying less on taxes is going to be good. You know what I mean? At the same time, I try not to pay attention to outside opinions on that's when the Coors Lights, Amazons,
Right. Oh, the Amazon, everybody's got to get weed delivered to their, by drone. That to their doorstep.
Crazy stuff, bro. So,
yeah.
I don't know if it's me looking forward to it, because I believe everything happens I believe so much into synchronicity, you know what I mean? That when it happens, it happens, you know what I mean? So whatever that means for the market, again, I can look at it on a piece of paper and be like, all right, well, our tax liability just dropped so much. But I've worked with this tax professional more recently in the last year or two, and his perspective, having done thousands of business valuations, he basically gave me a perspective that I respect a lot. He's like, if you think that paying less as taxes is going to be a benefit, it's like a double-edged sword, because now you have barriers that have been dropped, and now you do have more people that are it's going to be less risk, so more people are going to want to invest in it. You know what I mean? So what does that mean to the market that's already in a price compressed market? You know what I mean? So for me, I'm literally in the middle. I have no emotional attachment to either side.
I think that's smart for your sanity.
Yeah, basically, bro. You know what I mean?
And one of the things I always look at is, this is something when I had Commissioner Roy on the pod.
She was on the pod, bro. That's what's up.
So I had her on a couple weeks ago, and one of the things I never got to ask her, which I meant to ask her during the thing, but she has a press secretary. She's very 45 minutes, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so we did it and we were done. But one of the things I really want to ask her, which I had asked her just a few weeks before that, in an open public forum, in a MCC meeting, Massachusetts Cannabis Coalition meeting, where I asked what happens when we go federal legal and Oregon starts putting dumping tons of weed into the rest of the states, right? So with that said, there obviously are regulatory things that it kind of throw a wrench into a lot of this stuff. But for both reasons, Oregon can't necessarily come in super quick, but how quick is Massachusetts going to respond and write the regulations in a way that we can now out-export ours?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's because again, as a brand, and even you're a manufacturer too, right? Being able to sell your product in Connecticut, something like that.
Oh, yeah. That's the home state, bro.
Exactly. Home state, Bridgeport. So let's talk the New England Consortium. I've kind of floated that idea to a bunch of people. I wish everybody in New England could just get together on the same regulations.
For sure.
So we could just when federal legalization happens, we can transport independently.
Yeah.
And then we can try to figure out, as a group, how to get across the other states.
Right.
Because weed doesn't naturally grow here. I mean, however, it doesn't grow best here.
No.
The Triangle, obviously, all those great places in much nicer areas that will grow really, really great weed.
And at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah. So I feel for my cultivator friends. And of course, you could always, with the right genetics, get really great stuff out. But, the quality compared to the West Coast stuff, again, I'm not going to get to that debate, because can be a heated debate. But the idea of, for instance, a state with a surplus, with a giant surplus of just weed, I see prices sometimes 75 cents, $1 a gram for distillate or something like that. We're paying $4 to $5 sometimes, right? So
used to pay 20 racks for a liter, bro.
Well, that's what it was, right? So when I first came in, before I
you know the deal.
When I launched,
your performance was built on 20.
I know. Well, everything for me was a huge margin benefit. Right? Yeah. So that's why it's I feel for it, but I also know that I will, whatever my inputs are, as long as I can clean them up and they're really clean inputs, whether 90% plus THC or whatever.
Right.
If it's Oregon weed, Massachusetts weed, or whatever, it's an ingredient to us. In a sense, we're not craft cultivators. And have nothing but respect for the people who are loving the plant so much that they're willing to get in bed with it every night and do the work to be able to grow really, really great products. I have nothing but respect for that hustle because that's something I can't do.
Right.
Dry growing, I'm awful.
Same.
So I will leave that to the masters of all that stuff. The reason why I wanted to start a brand, though, was because I'm looking for mass market. I've never been thinking to myself, oh, I'm just going to be in Massachusetts the rest of my life. That's never really been my plan. So for me, if federal legalization was to happen, like we've been unhandcuffed at that point. All right, well, just tell me what guidelines I need to follow, and I will follow them to a T. Above board to make sure I can get my products in every state.
For sure, yeah.
So again, the parallels to CPG versus cannabis and how that interplay there. And how do you? So for federal legalization, do you think it's happening anytime soon? Like, man, nobody knows what Trump's going to do. So it's like, who knows?
Yeah, bro. I mean, if you asked an expert in cannabis 10 years ago, they would have said 5 years. If you asked them 15 years ago, they would have said 5 years. You know what I mean? So 5 years has always been the answer for many people that get asked that question. I typically don't even answer it, just because I truly don't know. Even now, like sometimes when we have our team meetings every month, we like to talk about the market from the perspective of like local, but then also like what's going on federally and sometimes internationally. And knowing that like there are these public meetings that the federal government has, right? And we have some experience with it from a state perspective, but like we know how long the state takes. Even if you speak a word in testimony, that might not be, it's going to be heard, but it might not be effective until a year later. Point taken with the two-driver rule.
Yeah.
It took a year for them to make minor changes.
Minor.
You know what I mean? Now we're talking about, 1932, right? Like,
Prohibition.
Yeah, bro. It's almost 100 years later.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's the federal government.
All the bureaucracy that goes along with that.
Exactly, bro. So who knows, bro?
And then you hear about all these other stories from other states, like the OCM in New York, and how they're like bungling things there or whatever. And I don't know much about that market, but I do know, obviously, every market's going to have their criticism and critics that are going to be very vocal about like how you're fucking shit up.
Who, the government, the federal?
Oh no, just from the states.
Oh, from the states.
Like imagine being a stakeholder in New York and there's lawsuits being thrown at the OCM all the time, and like, can you get anything done over there?
Right.
And some people, and they also have something that we don't, which is the like not the debtors stuff, but basically something like that, where if you don't pay your invoices within a certain amount of time, and like you actually go on a blacklist, and until you clear all that up, you can't even buy more product if you're a store. Like they have some other stuff that we don't have, but for better or worse, though, I don't know that if that system would work really well here. And I think there's a lot to be learned from other states, but at the same time, we're very much focused here to try to make sure Massachusetts is really taken care of to make sure that everybody's getting access and access to our products, access to any products. And, I welcome more stores. I welcome more cultivators. I welcome everybody because I just want to see the best. I really want that free market experience. Yeah. Like if you're growing really great stuff, people will buy it, right?
I'm the same way, bro.
So it's like...
It's a blue ocean mindset, bro.
Yeah. It's wide open still. Yeah, it totally is. Like the amount of market share we've gained over this year has been phenomenal for us. And so... And we also have, we're the number one tincture in the market.
For real?
Yeah, we're the number one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yo,
you know that?
Congrats.
Thanks.
That, bro.
Yeah. So
I mean, for a while, it was, you don't mind me name dropping?
No, go for it.
What's the wolf?
Howls.
Howls, yeah.
So Howls has been up there for a bit. Treeworks is up there.
Treeworks, too.
Yeah, Treeworks is second, probably pretty clearly second. We passed them, I think, back in September.
That's what's up.
And we've been kind of growing nonstop since. But
so we might have to bring you guys back in, bro.
Yeah, we got the number one product in. Again, I'm gonna shoot my own horn 1 second.
Yeah.
It's it's all water based, so you can mix it into any drink. You could also take it straight. It tastes delicious straight. Yeah. Our original formula was a little bit harsh.
Yeah.
Like it was like the fastest acting one you can kind of get. This one is still fast acting though.
We didn't carry. We carried the.
You guys got the drinks.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys had the drinks.
Still doing?
We don't do any of the drinks.
Gotcha.
We did a hard pivot. We basically abandoned our drink line and replaced it with, even to the point where we moved the bottling line out of our facility entirely.
Right.
It's like a 2-ton giant stainless steel monoblock.
My goodness, bro. Yeah.
Cost almost $5,000 to move that thing.
Yeah.
To go across the other side of the building.
Oh my goodness, bro. Are you serious? What are you gonna do with it?
Well, it's just sitting there right now because, we have it on sale, I think, on Facebook Marketplace. We literally have it for like $80,000 on Facebook Marketplace right now, but I'll cut you a deal, don't worry about it. So, but since we made that hard pivot,
right.
we, that's one of the things that's really good about some of the stuff that I've been learning as a founder too, because learning never stops, right? Is just focusing on one product set, just like focusing on that one thing.
Yeah.
And then everything comes from that.
Yeah.
So if you go too wide, you start focusing on too many things, you can't really focus on everything.
Absolutely.
So you don't want to be the jack of all trades
right.
in most cases. If you're trying to, especially in a nuanced and also very new new industry like cannabis, because it still is new, especially in Massachusetts.
Absolutely.
The first store's adult use was 2018.
18,
like
yeah.
So.
My son's birthday, bro.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving, bro.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, 2011,
The first Green Wednesday?
Well, no, it was Thanksgiving, bro.
Wow.
On Thanksgiving, yeah.
So, but from our perspective, focusing on one line of products, growing it to be number one, and then 2025, we'll see if we want to release other ones. But yeah, so all of our products, not just number one, actually, we're now as big as all of our competitors combined.
Wow. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. So that's how fast the product moves.
Bro, get that manifest going. Send it over, bro.
It's a sale. I told you I get a sale.
Yeah. That's why he does his podcast.
I'm bringing all the dispensaries.
He's pitching me now.
But yeah, so but I won't go on about that. But we do have the highest dose products out there, 1,000 milligram.
Yo, that's ill, bro. Wait, all the flavors 1,000?
No, 500 and 1,000.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah,
bro.
we were the ones. So Commissioner Roy, I spoke to her about this too. So Commissioner Roy and actually Chris Ferrone of our Talking Joints memo covered this at our launch at Flower Expo.
Yeah.
So we're at Flower Expo and we just launched Pink Lemonade, which is the first 1,000 milligram adult use product in the market.
Yeah,
the reason why we were able to do that was because we actually have the letter from our investigator saying that you can do it is because the guidance document says 500 milligrams.
Right.
The regulations say 5,000. So
they added an extra zero.
They missed a zero somewhere in some conversion. Because the guidance documents are supposed to reinforce the regulations. It's supposed to change the regulations.
Right.
So it's a guidance document. It's not the regulations. Regulations says 5,000.
Yeah, that's wild. So are you gonna make a 5,000?
It's hard to do. We've tried a few. It's really hard to do to make it taste good too, because these just taste delicious. I could just drink these straight. They're so good. But the difference is technology has to evolve a little bit. We've got some technology we're working on right now. It's an iterative process. We have to do stability tests and stuff like that to make sure it's really a game changer. And at that point, we can go above. But at some point, you have to think to yourself, that's 1,000 milligrams.
Right.
Like, how much more do you go after that? Because
Are you familiar with the liver enzyme?
The liver enzyme in liver,
people.
Oh, the people.
Yeah.
What's that? Tell me more.
So there's a couple people at my spot that consider themselves to have a high tolerance for smoking weed, but then they also have a high tolerance for ingestion.
Right.
And part of the issue I have an in-house weed scientist, this guy named Sheldon. He's a gem. He's a gem. Everybody loves him.
Shout out Sheldon.
Shout out to Sheldon, bro.
Yeah.
So he was doing some research and realized that when people take 100 milligrams of edibles and they don't feel anything, but there's a tipping point. Let's just say that's 300 milligrams, right? And then all of a sudden they get blasted. Basically there's a enzyme in your liver that doesn't process THC. You know what I mean? So there are some people that need those high dosage. Right. You know what I mean?
So there's literally, it's just nothing, everything.
Then everything, bro. Wow, yeah, and there's a few people at my spot because we get samples.
It's
and
a
stuff.
Thing, yeah.
It's a thing, bro. You probably know people like that too.
Well, my mother-in-law is like that because
she'll take 100 milligrams and nothing. 50.
Well, every time she tried our product, she's like, I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
I'm taking 20 milligrams at this point.
Yeah.
I'd be blasted at.
Yeah, exactly. No, I do know what you mean. Yeah. Because there's some people like that.
There's some people who have that enzyme, right?
Right. So, but I'm not a scientist or anything, but definitely do some research on it.
Yeah, don't take Ulysses' word for it, sorry, or mine. I'm not a scientist either, but we do have the ability to kind of push the border or boundaries in a lot of this stuff. Is that we broke the barrier for 1,000 milligrams, and we have it in writing from the CCC that it is compliant
for sure, bro.
And I talked to Commissioner Roy even about getting a guidance doc updated, but it still hasn't happened yet. I don't know what's going on because everybody can benefit from this. It's not just me. It's about access. It's as many people can benefit, the better. Mm-hmm. But as far as I know, they haven't updated the guidance document yet. But pushing the boundaries, doing the innovation, we know that the reality, the boots on the ground, the people who are doing the products today are advancing most likely in many cases faster than science because of other research that has been done, right? So now we're just trying to do is, people have told me all kinds of crazy stories about our products, right? I got a picture literally yesterday from somebody who was like, they have like 9 of them in their cabinet. They want to have all the flavors on hand. And then you have people who are like, we use a lot of surveys. One of the things that makes us maybe a little bit unique is that I personally will take customer calls and I'll just ask them questions the entire time. So I pay people money, $20 for every session.
Yeah, too.
And so we'll stay on we'll stay on for like 20 to 30 minutes. I'll talk to them and I'll just try to dissect like how they consume our product and stuff like that. And
Absolutely.
what products you're looking at. But I hear a lot of people being like, this affects me more closer to smoking than it does in edible.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's the thing with tinctures, especially if it's full spectrum.
And but it's also fast acting.
Right,
so
right.
It's not as fast as smoking. It won't hit you as that fast, but it still hits you really, really fast.
Bro, you need a research license here, bro.
I want to say is that we do a ton. So we have an R&D room. Right? In our R&D room, we have 50, 60 different formulas we have right now in the back that we could launch at any time kind of thing. There's various stages. Some of them don't have branding yet. Some of them don't have packaging yet, stuff like that. But like, we have one of the smartest teams in cannabis right now. And as far as execution goes, as long as I'm leading the charge, like we're executing like nobody.
For sure.
So stacks on stacks on stacks.
Yeah, bro.
So right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out what does 2025 have in store for everybody really, right? Like how the dispensary's looking at 2025 right now. Like, do you have mostly like a positive vibe about 2025? Like anything big initiatives coming up for 2025 that you're currently focusing on? You mentioned training already.
Yeah. So I mean,
also the new store. Right.
Yeah, I don't think the new store would be active in 2025. I think it's really just pursuing it because I've been passive about pursuing.
Can you talk about the location yet, or?
I'm hoping it's in Quincy.
All right.
I'm hoping it's in Quincy for a few different reasons. One, they don't have any equity businesses, even though they're deemed a municipality of impact. Right. And then they have a growing population, much like Worcester. Worcester's probably about double the size, but we have again 13 dispensaries, and I think there's only 3 in Quincy. So that's the goal. Nothing's set in stone, but I'm definitely pursuing it with, of course, the rigor and the obsession that I always do in anything that I do. So,
exactly. Well, that's the thing that I always have to think about is when you're approaching a new license, how much it can distract potentially from your day to day.
Right.
So it's like, all right, now I got to be on site there. There's construction.
And you know what? And that's why I said I was passively approaching it, because there's always fires to put out, especially having 3 licenses in Worcester, a team of almost 30 people. A lot of what we deal with on a day to day is like HR related personnel stuff. So before that, though, for the first year and a half, it was like I'm opening the store, I'm closing the store. So removing that from my daily tasks as an owner, and then really just thinking more long term has been a transition. But yeah, that's why I'm, when you talk about 2025, I'm thinking about like even the workforce development, that's grant money. You know what I mean? I've never written a grant up until I started this business, bro. You know what I mean? But to be able to get grant money the last 2 years, like $40,000, and then we got CCC, or what is it? The economic development. Right. So we got money from the state for that.
And there's the next round.
And then the next round's coming, bro.
So depending if you're operating, you have licenses and you're, meet certain qualifications, it's like $500,000 up perhaps, right?
Per license, bro. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I mean, those are the things that I look forward to. And I want to continue on, just thinking long term, but then also being very present. So it's super helpful, honestly, to go down to the shop and just, like you said, like hear from customers, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? Hear from my team members, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that stuff I'd never want to, like, I don't give a shit how much money I can make, bro. If it's a consumer facing, or even the fact of if it's, let's just say, business to business, bro. I want to hear from people who are making the decisions. I want to hear from people who are using, you know what I mean? So, and you know what I mean by that, right?
Consumer.
Yeah, bro. Because you basically have a buyer at a store.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then obviously the larger buyer is going to be the end consumer. Yeah. So being able to understand those dynamics between, the opinion and experience that both of them have is very important. Yeah. So to the day I continue, like, I guess to the day I don't work anymore, which is probably going to be the day that I'm deceased, I'm always going to value that perspective, you know what I mean? As well as the perspective of, the team members that are basically here for the same vision and moving towards that vision.
Yeah, you have to focus on the customer.
Oh, for sure.
You always have to make sure that they're taken care of, because if you take care of them, they'll take care of you.
Oh, for sure. And then many of my team say the same thing about them. They're like, we're just as important, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I believe there's a solid balance between it too, you know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
But the point is to be hands-on with people, bro. And I think I said this before sitting here, is that like the people are really what makes the difference, you know what I mean? So, very much like you, bro, I look at myself as an exceptional leader. And part of that is doing a lot of listening, bro.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the big takeaways that I've had to learn over the years, is to do more listening than talking.
even if
I love to talk.
Yeah. Well, you listen to some things where you're like, all right, well, that's your opinion, or it might be wrong, but you're not going to be like, yo, you're a fucking idiot. Like,
exactly. Well, I think that's a lot of people's fear, right? It's just like, I don't want to speak up because, I feel like I'm going to get turned away, or I'm going to look like a fool and stuff like that. And, sometimes I look at my staff sometimes and be like, it's okay. Like, there's no such thing as a bad idea. I truly believe it.
Yeah.
And I am an idea maestro. Like, like, ideas get me so much excitement. I can just be like, all right, well, what if we change this? What if we change that? And like 20 out of 20 are bad. You know what I mean? Like, no, maybe there's 1 out of 20 that are good, but like, for the most part, just developing new ideas and new concepts and better ways to do things and more efficient ways to do things. And it's like empowering the team to make the decisions themselves.
Right.
So they're coming to me with solutions and no problem.
That is the biggest thing right there, bro. And sometimes you got to teach people to not limit what they believe in. Like, man, I had a conversation the other day. So we have these racks. If we got the time out.
Yeah. We'll wrap after this one, though.
All right, no. So we got these racks, like the U-line racks, bro. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, they're usually very, so they aren't
Or
casters,
shelves.
They're shelves, right? So that's where we keep our retail product. And we were probably at like 75% of utilizing those racks, because some of the orientations of the bins that sit on those racks are kind of deterred. And then we have ancillary goods that don't need to be wheeled in and out of the inventory every night, right? So when I look at it, they're like, oh, we just need more racks. I'm like, no, we don't need more racks. We need to rearrange what we have on these current racks.
Don't get the accessories out of it.
Exactly. And then if we hit capacity, then we can get more racks. But it's the belief. And I'm like,
the limitation.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, do you know why these racks are this way? It's because I've put them this way.
Right, exactly.
Like, it's just a human thought. There's no other, so just think about solving the problem.
It's not like the CCC came in and said, hey, we have to have it. If you move them an inch, you're in trouble.
Exactly, yeah. So it's just crazy. It's just crazy to me, because when you say like, ideas, but like, a lot of people tend to limit their ideas because they believe in something not wanting to work. And I've noticed that, like, man, I was just telling my mom this the other day, that like some people can get annoyed by me because I'm an extreme optimist, bro. Like, I don't give a shit what happens, how bad it is for a fucking reason. Like, the other side of it is going to be to learn something, or maybe it might not be for you directly. It might be for someone in your life. You know what I mean? So, whatever it is, just always look on the other side of it, that like it's going to get better.
Yeah, I think we definitely can both agree on that. We're both cut from that same thread cloth when it comes to that stuff, because I even have it written behind you. It says optimism is a moral obligation.
I didn't even see it, bro.
Because it is. It's like, we just have, as humans, I think the human species, we have to be optimistic, because there's always going to be bigger and better things. And you go back to those old kind of like, nothing's ever been as good as this, but everybody's miserable.
Right.
Everybody's alone. All these things. But like, there's optimism. There's so much more that we could be doing right now, and just going out and doing things, and instead of sitting down and just like letting it come to you, being an active participant in this world.
For sure.
So that's what I try to inspire my team to be, is an active participant all the time.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily just like wait for things to happen to them.
Right.
Know?
Right. Oh, that's dope, bro. That's dope.
We can wrap here.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for coming through.
Appreciate it. Get that manifest ready, bro.
Yeah, I know. We'll get some over to you. Don't worry about it. We'll get you a good deal.